Hi guys, it's Lillian the Postmodern Mom here, and today I am going to present to you a podcast that I did with Julianne Stewart. She is a blogger and has a Twitter following, and she basically tweets about femininity and homemaking. She's been married 2 years and lives in, I think, London area. She lives in the UK. And she asked me to be on her podcast called Ladies Let's Chat, and you can find that on the link anchor.fm/Ladies Let's Chat, and join us for the conversation. This podcast in particular was about how do people survive on one income. I think there's such a joy in keeping a good home, in watching your children grow up, in cooking and cleaning and supporting your husband.
Hello, welcome to the Ladies Let's Chat podcast. I am your host, Julianne Stewart. This is a space for us ladies to discuss all things about relationships, polarity, femininity, homemaking, success, and creativity. Let's dive in, shall we? Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Ladies Let's Chat podcast, episode number 3. Thanks for joining me again. Today, I have a very special guest with me, the amazing and wonderful Lillian, aka the Postmodern Mum. Lillian is a traditional housewife, a stay-at-home mum, and a homeschool and natural birthing advocate. Her and her husband Felipe also run an awesome YouTube channel called The Postmodern Family. They are an American family who live in the UK and they love vlogging about British life, traditional living, homeschooling, natural birthing, and they give some great and hilarious commentary on current events. So today's episode is inspired by a question I received from one of my Twitter followers about how to live on one income. So I thought it'd be great to have Lillian discuss the topic with me because she's got more experience as she is a stay-at-home mum with 3 kids. So for those ladies who dream of becoming a traditional housewife and wondered what it's like to live on a single income, I hope this podcast answers some of those questions for you. Enjoy. Lillian, thanks again for joining me. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so before we go into the interview, I like to ask my guests a few questions just to warm things up so listeners can get to know you a little bit more, if that's okay.
That sounds great.
Cool. Okay, so the first question is, Lillian, what did you have for breakfast this morning?
This morning I had the usual 2 eggs and 2 slices of bacon with some cream cheese and a little tea.
Oh, nice. That sounds very healthy and full of nutrition.
Definitely.
Okay, so what do you miss the most about America when you are in the UK?
The thing I miss the most would be the outward friendliness of people, and maybe wrapped up with that is just the customer service feel that you get when you go out to stores. People just seem to be a bit more open and will talk to strangers on the street and strike up conversations at the checkout till. So it's a little bit
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, it's a bit different here in the UK, isn't it? Everyone's a bit more reserved.
Hmm.
Cool. So what do you miss about the UK when you're in America?
Oh, there were actually a lot of things. I think one of the big things was the driving. I missed UK driving because people generally they're safer. They're safer drivers here and they follow the rules and they're a bit more courteous, whereas
Okay.
American drivers are a little bit crazy and they speed and they cut each other off and they don't allow each other in, and it's very different.
Really? Oh, I didn't realize that. I didn't about that about being American drivers. That's interesting. Okay, so the next question is, what was the last song you listened to?
Hmm. It probably would be from our classical conversations, which is our home education community. We were studying Dvorak, so we listened to Dvorak Symphony Number 3.
Oh, very nice. So going back to, I hear you're an opera singer.
Yes, that's right.
So what was the last song you sang?
Oh, well, I was preparing for a concert that unfortunately got postponed, and it was the Bach Magnificat. So
Oh,
one of the albums
wow.
from that.
Oh my God, wow. You're an amazing singer, by the way. I've seen your YouTube channel. I was like, wow, she's so talented.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, what's for dinner tonight?
Dinner tonight is going to be a bolognese with some spaghetti. So we're going to use some minced beef and chop up some vegetables and make a nice pasta sauce on some spaghetti.
Nice, classic. Can't go with
Yes,
pasta.
pretty simple.
What do you love the most about being married?
I love that I have someone I can trust, a good companion that I trust completely. So I know that Felipe would say otherwise, but I call him my best friend in a very, very high honorable way, but as well as he's obviously my husband and someone that I do submit to and adore and honor. So yeah, I just love that companionship and knowing that you have somebody there who's going to be with you for the rest of your life.
Oh, that's really sweet. What did you do on your last date night?
Our last date night that we actually went out, or the ones that we've kind of done at home?
Just your
Like,
last one, whether it was
uh,
at home or out.
I think we'll go with the one that we went out. So before the quarantine, we went out to see a film. I think it was, now I don't even remember, but we just went out to see a film, and that's pretty much it.
Cool, cool. I love a cinema night.
Mm.
I think that was our last date night as well. We went to see, oh God, what was it called? 19.
Oh, yes, that was
I
it.
can't remember what it's
Yeah,
called now. Yeah,
1917. Is that right?
it was so good.
It was very good.
It made me. I remember walking out feeling really appreciative for everything that I had.
Mm.
What all those soldiers kind of went through for our,
Yeah.
I guess, our freedom.
Yeah.
Right. The next question is, what is your favorite beauty hack?
My favorite beauty hack.
If you have one.
Hmm. I would I would say a good primer because that's something that I discovered only recently in the last year or so. And before I was putting my foundation on, I would just put it straight on over like a lotion or a moisturizer. And I
Mhm.
wasn't using primer, and I see a huge difference since start.
Really interesting.
Hmm.
I've got a primer, but I never use it. I just
Hmm.
really get into that habit. Like I'm just in the habit of applying foundation straight after moisturizing. It's just
Right.
that habit I need to break, I think.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it just seemed to stick. Like my foundation seemed to last longer, and it didn't like get absorbed into my skin so much as like it was a bit more effective, I think, for my foundation.
Interesting.
Hmm.
And the last question is, if you could have brunch with anyone in the world, who would it be with and why?
Oh, this is a hard question. Alive or dead?
It can be either.
Hmm. Let's see. One of the books that I really, really enjoyed was called Seeking Allah, Finding Jesus by Nabeel Qureshi. And he's passed away now from stomach cancer,
Hmm.
but I would have loved to just pick his brains on his transition from Islam to Christianity.
Oh, wow. Wow, I've not heard of that book.
It's fantastic. It's on Audible as well, and it's him reading it, so I would recommend that one.
That sounds really fascinating. Cool, that was fun. So I will go
Yeah.
straight into the interview now, Lily.
Okay.
Lillian.
Yeah, Lillian. Lily is fine.
So yeah, as mentioned, I received a request from one of my followers on Twitter asking about how to live on one income and whether it's attainable in today's market. Also, with the whole coronavirus pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
Loads of people are losing their jobs. I read an article on The Guardian last week. I think it was issued out everywhere, but I think something like 6.65 million people filed for unemployment in the USA, which is really,
Yeah.
really sad. I think those
Mm-hmm.
numbers are pretty relative all around the world. Personally, I think it's a great time to test the waters whilst everyone is in lockdown.
Mm.
With the extra time women have at home now, they can really embrace their, homemaking skills such as
Yeah.
meal planning, cooking, being really creative and resourceful at home, just doing those things in their own leisurely time where they normally wouldn't get that opportunities. Because a lot of the times I think women might feel that, they wouldn't really have much to do during the day. If you have kids, that's a completely different story.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're, a working woman transitioning into thinking about, maybe when I do get married, I might consider becoming a stay at home wife or a stay at home
Mm-hmm.
mum. So maybe I thought we could start with what inspired you, Lillian, to becoming a stay at home mum and a traditional housewife. Do you want to share your story? Was it something that, was it a conscious decision for you, or was it more because of circumstances? Like, did you become pregnant and thought, oh, okay, maybe it's better if I stay home? Or was it, a decision that you
Mm.
really wanted to make happen before you'd gotten married?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of my circumstances and the encouragement that I was receiving from my husband. So before we got pregnant, I was working as a teacher, and plans to eventually go back to and get my doctorate and then maybe become a college professor. And I had very, you know, standard career aspirations to reach the world or become famous. But then we got pregnant, and it was something that we were working for. We wanted to have
Yeah.
children. And so when we got pregnant and I had my daughter, and after that, I couldn't imagine myself returning to work within the 12 weeks that we are given in America. So that's very, very young, 12 weeks. I was very grateful that my 12 weeks ran into the summertime. So in actuality, I had 5 months with my daughter before I had to make the decision whether or not to go back to work. At the end of the 5 months, I still felt that she was too young to be left to strangers. And I also found it very strange, this idea that I would let a stranger, raise my child while I go teach other strangers' children. And I felt like my priorities would have been wrong to think I'm going to put strangers' children above my own. So I handed in my resignation, and that was the beginning of my life as a stay-at-home mother. And honestly, the first probably 4 years were very difficult. The first two were probably very difficult, and then the last two were just still adjusting. But very soon after we had our first daughter, we moved to the UK, and that also kind of solidified the fact that I'm going to be staying home because it's harder for me to find work here, especially since my certification is from America for teaching. But I would say that after making that decision and then living off of a single income, it was very manageable. We could do it. Even if we were moving countries, we could do it. And I thought, how much value I'm adding to my daughter's life, and that watching her grow up and seeing how she's happy and she has a great relationship with us, and then now we've added another child who's now 2.5, and seeing that relationship and seeing their education, it just has solidified it that this is the way to go. At least for us, we've really, really benefited.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. And I think for most women who just sort of entertain the idea of staying home, they think, oh, okay, maybe when the kids arrive, that could be an option.
Hmm. Hmm.
And before that, I mean, most women wouldn't even dream of staying at home. That was
Right.
certainly for me. My journey is kind of similar to yours, except I didn't have I didn't fall pregnant straight away when I got married,
Mhm.
but we always said that once I have children, I'd be
Mhm.
staying home with them. Like, there's no point in
Mhm.
me putting my baby into nursery daycare at 6 months. It's just, to me, that just doesn't I
Mhm.
that doesn't sit well with me. I know many women out there, everyone's completely different and have different circumstances, but that was my journey would have been the same as yours and my thinking. But because I actually lost my job straight after I got married.
Oh.
Yeah, literally within like 2 weeks after I came back from honeymoon, I lost my job.
Ah!
It was crazy.
Mm.
And for some reason, I just couldn't find any work. And
Mhm.
my background, I'm a publicist. I work in the
Mhm.
entertainment industry, and I kind of did that for a couple of years, and I couldn't really see myself climbing the corporate ladder. And it was really taking
Mhm.
a toll on me as well. I was just like, I couldn't manage, being this career wife and then switching hats when I got home and being this wife to do
Mhm.
homemaking duties. I was just like, okay, that's just too much for me. So yeah, so I kind of fell into the housewife role earlier, but
Yeah.
but yeah, so that's kind of my journey. And I think, but before even that, if I didn't have that, my job loss, I probably would have just kept working until
Mhm.
I'd fallen pregnant.
Yeah. There's such an advantage to being a homemaker before having children because you have the opportunity to really focus on honing your homemaking abilities. Because I must say, that's probably what made it so difficult for me in the beginning was I had no concept of keeping a house clean and cooking.
Yeah,
uh,
it is. It's
I
like
was
a
very much
full-time job.
thinking, just, yeah, sharing duties 50-50. And so embracing that role full time earlier, before having children, I think would have been better for me.
Yeah, 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 I know what you mean. It's because you're kind of just thrown into the deep end. I've got friends who've
Mhm,
got kids, and they're exactly the same. They're like, okay, they're this full-on career woman, and then out pops the
mhm,
baby, and then all of a sudden she's at home with this baby 24 hours, and just like
mhm,
juggling everything. It can be quite
mhm,
overwhelming for new mums.
mhm,
So that's great. So that's kind of our journey into becoming, I guess, traditional housewives.
mhm,
So, yeah, should we talk about budgeting and saving money? Because if a woman is working full time, she's probably making, I don't know, average income in the UK is about 30K.
mhm.
So if she loses that income from staying at home, what are
Right.
some ways that she can save money to help with the family budget?
Mhm,
So, for example, me being we haven't got kids yet, but before I lost my income, we were obviously thinking about that extra income. So I was saving money on, commuting every month in London was about £150 for me.
mm,
I was saving £200 a month on lunches, eating lunches every day at work,
mhm.
buying lunches. In the UK, we have this culture of Friday night drinks. So I'd spend at least, £30 every Friday night. So that'd be, £150 that I don't spend anymore because
Mhm.
I don't have that. Well, I don't have a team that I have to go out for drinks anymore with. Um,
Right.
Also, clothes and shoes and handbags. When I was working in the entertainment industry, there was a lot of pressure. I had a team of lots of women, so there was a lot of pressure to keep up with fashion. And I think because I was just, when you're working, you're kind of stressed out, you're always on the go. So that was kind of
Mhm.
like a, what's the word, retail therapy was a bit of a stress
Yes.
relief for me. So I'd be like spending money on handbags and just kind of trying to keep myself busy, and kind of like miscellaneous things like yoga classes. And I mean, I still, do yoga, and I still do, buy beauty products, but I don't, I won't drop £30 on a moisturizer. I'll just buy,
Mm,
which does exactly the same thing as, say, a Nivea
mhm.
night cream does, which is only
Yeah.
£7. So it's kind of just, I guess, changing your mindset a bit from consumerism to, okay, how can I be a little bit more savvy with my money that
Yeah.
we've got? When you're working with a family budget, you're always considering the family and not, oh, I just want this now.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot more, I wouldn't say selfish, but well, I guess it is less selfish because you're not just thinking about yourself anymore. So
Mm-hmm. That's right.
yeah, so just those things, me as not having children, I was able to save £750 a month from just not commuting, not eating out, eating lunches and buying
Yeah.
coffee every day, Friday night drinks. What are
Mm-hmm.
other ways that you can save money as a family? So when you're just on the one income?
Mm-hmm. Well, I often think of what comes out regularly that might be a small amount, but when you tally it all up, it is a lot of money. And something that we have been doing ever since we were dating, actually, was I would cut my husband's hair. And if you think
Mm-hmm.
about how often men go for a haircut, it's like every 3 to 4 weeks, I
Yeah, you
think. There's
do.
get their and maybe it's 5 pounds, maybe it's 10 pounds, maybe it's 40 pounds every time, but that's like a regular expense that if you can try and hone your skills as a a hairdresser,
Hmm.
it saves a lot of money. So thankfully, I've been doing that ever since we've met, and we've saved a lot of money in terms of hair care. So I cut all our hair, my hair included, sometimes I get to splurge and spend a little like money on getting a perm, like a permanent, like curly perm. Is that what you would
Oh
call it here?
wow. A pen.
But yeah, so that's sometimes I do that, but I don't spend very much money on my hair. I don't dye my hair because that would be a lot of maintenance. I don't go and get my nails done and things like that. I do it myself. So it's a lot of it is just what can you do yourself that would save you a lot of money. So hair cutting would be one, and also manicures and pedicures. I do it myself.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, the same with me.
Mm.
I don't, I used to get my nails done, but then my
Mm-hmm.
nails went really thin and kind of dry and gross. I was like, okay, can't do
Yeah.
that. Can't do that every single month. Otherwise, I'll have no
Mm-hmm.
nails left. But yeah, but there's also, obviously, I have friends who are working mums and have got kids as well, but they're spending a lot of money on childcare, which is something that I
Mm-hmm.
would be saving in the future if I had children. I know in
Mm-hmm.
London, a daycare can cost anywhere from between 70 to £90 a day. So that's
Yeah,
per child.
absolutely. That is a big that is a big thing in finances. When with the mother working, usually the cost of childcare is almost the same in many instances. Like the cost of you sending your child to childcare and then you making money is like almost equal.
Yeah, exactly. You'd get
Um,
hardly anything back after all those expenses.
yeah. Hmm. Yeah, so that's something that I think people when they don't think about it really, but when you tally it all up and all the expenses that you just said with eating out and making sure you have professional looking clothes, all of those things versus taking care of your own children at home is very similar. So if you could just yeah, maybe if people evaluate it and they look at their costs, it might be very much worth it staying home with your children and watching your children without sending them off.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm. I think it's priceless to be able to stay home with your children. I'd rather stay home. This is just a
Mhm.
personal opinion. I know everyone's different, but I'd rather forego an expensive, shiny new car and be able to stay with my babies at home. I don't know.
Mhm.
There's so many ways that you can save money. For example, don't buy a house that requires two incomes to pay it off. Actually, we've got a friend who's just bought a second house and they're doing it up, but they're living in their smaller house at the moment. Everything is kind
Mhm.
of on standstill because of coronavirus. So
Yeah.
they can't continue on with the renovations, but the guy works for himself. So he can't actually go
Mm.
out and earn money. So now they've got these two mortgages and he's not able to work. So they've got these two massive mortgages. It's being
Mm-hmm.
sensible, isn't it? You do have to think about rainy days. Coronavirus has proven to everyone how fragile life and jobs are,
Yeah.
and not get seduced by, I guess, consumerism and keeping the
Mhm.
Joneses.
Yeah, I think there's an idea of what their lifestyle, what they want their lifestyle to be, and they think that they can't achieve that with children and with a single income. But then when you actually are doing it, I don't feel like my lifestyle is very much different. But we don't go on holiday, twice a year. Maybe we go on holiday once a
Yeah,
year. We don't buy brand new cars, right? So we buy secondhand
yeah.
cars. We try and minimize our amount of clothing. And have you heard of like basically minimalists lifestyle?
Mm,
There's there's this one project that I tried called Project 333,
right.
and it trying to create a collection of 33 items for 3 months. And that included your accessories, your jewelry, and your handbags and your
Yeah,
shoes, as well as your tops and your skirts and your dresses. And I found it was really freeing. You're not wasting time wading through your
mhm,
clothes. And you also can buy higher quality clothes if you're only getting, five tops
yeah,
or two skirts, and they tend to last longer. So I really liked that idea, and we every now and then we do collect and end up collecting way too much clothes, and it saves us not only money but also time if we're able to keep a smaller collection of
yeah.
clothing.
That's so true. And I think I also read somewhere that we only wear 20% of our clothes anyways.
Mhm.
I've got a wardrobe full of God knows how many pieces of clothes, and I probably only I wear like the same 5 outfits all the time.
Yeah.
So that's actually, I guess, a similar concept with that, but not
Mhm.
having to buy just loads of random things. But
Mhm.
yeah, I think, like you said, cars is a big expense, obviously. Instead of buying a new car on finance, buy a secondhand
Mhm.
car that, that you can buy paying cash. You can buy a decent car
Mhm.
for 10 grand rather than paying,
Yeah.
£400 a month on a shiny car
Mhm.
that you probably end up selling in 5 years' time anyway. The cars depreciate as soon as you drive it out of the driveway.
Oh, I know.
So
I don't know why anyone buys new cars.
I know, I know.
The concept of that just bothers me.
Yeah, yeah. I remember in my old job, there was this woman and she leased cars. It's like having a contract on your mobile phone. I think she was saying, "Oh yeah, I
Right.
only pay £400 a month or whatever it is on a new car, and I get to switch it up every 3 years or something like that." It's like,
Mhm.
yeah, but that's a lot of money, and you don't end up owning that car after 3 years. You have to go into another
Yeah.
contract. I don't know. I haven't done the maths, so maybe that contract was cheaper, I guess, than forking out 10 grand for a car. But
I don't know. I mean, that's why we talk when we talk about renting, right? Renting versus buying. Buying, at least you're putting money into your equity, you own something after it. Whereas if you're just renting it, it's just money wasted in the end. You can't sell it
you
later,
can't sell
right?
it and you don't own anything at the end. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's
I think another big ticket item for me and our family is food. Because when you eat out, it costs a lot of money, and I don't think people realize how much it costs when you eat out, even if it's a fast food restaurant, compared to cooking at home.
mhm.
Food shopping and cooking at home, it would make a really big difference. So we put ourselves on a budget of 70 pounds a week, which is quite good. It's not very low. We have stretched it to 60 pounds a week before, but more comfortably, we spend about 70 pounds a week for four of us, and it's been working out just fine. And I think that saves a lot of money when you're cooking most of the time instead of spending that 30 pounds or more at a restaurant.
Yeah, absolutely. That's amazing. But yeah, I guess it's being thinking like that. and you can cook such delicious meals at home. But obviously, it is
Mm.
nice to spoil ourselves once in a while. You do have to
Mhm.
have those treats to, otherwise, life would just be a bit dull. Um,
That's right. Yeah.
so, but it is planning for that, isn't it? And especially if you've got kids as
Mhm.
well, it's even, I've heard that it's even more expensive for parents to go out, because then you have to think about babysitters.
Pay.
Yeah. So, did you want to talk about more about that? Like, how would you save money on like date nights?
Yeah, sure. I mean, in the beginning, we were still going out, even with our daughter, we were still going out about once a week, which
Oh,
is a lot.
wow.
That's like
That's
4.
great.
And thankfully, it's because we had a very reliable babysitter who was happy to, you know, come watch my daughter, for like very little, minimal. And unfortunately, she ended up having her own child, so she was no longer
Ah,
available. And ever since then, it's been a little bit difficult finding a babysitter. And so now we've pared it down. We've made sure we would do a date night once a month, which I think financially is better as well, because then you don't feel so guilty about spending all that money. But also being creative with your date nights. Sometimes it's more fun to do something where you're spending less money, and it might just be going for a walk, going to a National Trust property. And then other times just changing it up and maybe doing something different, like doing some ballroom dancing classes. And they're not too expensive usually,
yeah.
to do one off, or even just subscribe to something that happens every now and then. Yeah, so I think as long as you plan it out and you make it a point to do it, it's still going to keep your marriage alive. You don't really need once a week dates,
Yeah.
but at least you're dedicating once a month, and you're budgeting for that one time. I think that is totally doable. And yeah, I don't think we're lacking anything just because we don't go out on a whim.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. I think a lot of people assume that we are sacrificing. We're not really sacrificing anything, because I don't feel like my life has changed that much. If I really wanted to buy
Mhm.
something, I can go out and buy. If I really
Mhm.
wanted a handbag that I must have, I can go out and
Mhm.
get that if I wanted to. But
Mhm.
it's a different mind frame, isn't it? I don't just go out and buy it because I can and want to, but I don't need it.
Mhm. And then I think the other thing is about when you have children, I think a lot of people think that children need a lot of things, that they require a lot of money.
Hmm.
And that's just not true. I mean, when you have a 1-year-old and you put them in the middle of their, toys, and let's say one house has like 50 toys and the other house has 3, the baby is no less happy with those 3
Yeah.
toys. And I think a lot of times, new parents especially, don't realize how little you really need to keep a baby happy. They're much more interested in personal interaction than they are with things. So for shopping and toys and stuff, we actually don't have very many toys for our children, and it makes it more fun when they go to friends' houses and they can play with their toys. And so it's actually nicer because then they don't feel as entitled to having things, and they enjoy going out and doing those other special things, like seeing other people's toys.
Yeah, yeah. It makes them appreciate things a little bit more
Mm.
than having everything given to them at any one moment.
That's right, yeah.
I have friends who've got kids, and during Christmas time, I remember one of my friends, she even said to me, "Oh my God, he has so many toys." When he was opening up his presents, he just
Mm.
wasn't even looking at his toys. He was just like, "Oh, okay, another one. Oh, another one." Like, they don't really
Yeah.
care.
That's so sad because then they don't learn to appreciate the hard-earned money, the time, and that the dad has went to go spend,
Mm, mm.
making that money to pay for those gifts. So yeah, we just recently celebrated our daughter's birthday, and we were in quarantine, obviously. So we had to cancel a little horse riding party that I had
Aw.
booked. But she said the sweetest thing at our dinner, our birthday dinner. she said, "This is even better than the party I had last year because I get to spend it with my family." And she
Oh,
was so
so
sweet.
cute.
And she's only 6.
Yeah,
And you're like, "How does she think of these things to say?" And then she said, yeah, basically that she just thought it was more special than the last year. And I thought, what an amazing gift, that she's given to
yeah.
us
And that she even
by just
understands
being.
that concept. Family
Mhm.
is more important than the pony ride.
Mhm. And I think she even did say, and, parties, you spend a lot of money on parties, but I don't need that, and I would rather spend it with you guys or save the money or something. And she was so sweet.
Ah,
And it's funny because we don't talk about, like, money, and actually we're not very concerned about money, thankfully, because we do all this budgeting. But she did think about that. I'm not sure why and where she heard that from.
yeah. Oh, that's so sweet. That's so sweet. Yeah, so it's just I think if you just turn off the television, stop watching those ads that come on every 10 minutes.
Mhm. Oh, yeah, we don't get any TV, we don't get BBC or anything, we don't pay the licensing fee, so thankfully we don't get very many ads, and that does bother me when we're out, like, at a hotel or at someone's house, and there are just all these ads
Yeah,
playing, and you're
yeah.
thinking, "Of course these children want more and more, they're being told they want
Yeah,
that."
even like when we watch television and something will come on, I'll be, oh, I must have that thing. So, and if you've got that on the
Mm,
background 24/7, you are going to get suckered into consumerism life and just wanting to. So you just have to shut all that out. Look at the finances. Be realistic as well. Allow a bit of movement. Also, think about a rainy day, for example, coronavirus.
mhm,
It's really good to have an emergency fund, at least 6 months to a year in case your husband loses his job, God forbid. Avoid debt. Don't go for credit cards.
right,
I know so many people who've gotten themselves into trouble because of silly credit cards.
mhm.
They seem so innocent at first, but just put a holiday on a credit card, and before you know it, it's like 30% APR, and you end up paying double the amount.
And that's something. Have you heard of the Dave Ramsey
Yeah. Yes, Dave
course?
Ramsey is amazing.
Oh, yeah. So we took that in our first year of marriage or something. Someone had recommended it. And in fact, we bought his like collection of DVDs secondhand. It was so
Oh,
good.
cool.
We and since then we've tried to apply his recommendations for how much money you should spend based on like the percentages.
Mhm.
So based on 30% of your income should be like
Yeah.
savings, and then with the rest of it, and he divided it up really nicely for people to understand like how much a mortgage should cost or how much the extra food expenses should
Mhm.
cost based on your family size and your income. But yeah, he talks about baby steps, about paying off those credit cards, starting with the smallest ones first, and then, saving up that like I think it was $1,000 or £1,000, just emergency on hand. But then in the future, trying to save up 6 months to a year of your expenses, like how much you would need to pay off the mortgage
Mhm.
and live expenses as your emergency fund. And I think a lot of people who have done that are comfortable now, or they're okay during this quarantine lockdown.
Yeah.
But those who haven't prepared are probably feeling like they're drowning and they need assistance.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really, really important to plan for unforeseeable circumstances. You just don't know what could happen in the future.
Mhm.
Yeah, Dave Ramsey is amazing. And also, I got
Yeah.
another one of these trolls on Twitter that likes to put a spanner in the works. One of them always, for some reason, they always love to say, "Oh, so what if he dies? What if your husband dies?"
What if your
That's
husband
the
dies?
worst,
Yes,
the
you
worst of the
live
worst
thinking about
scenario.
that every
Or
day.
what if he runs off with the secretary? Is another one. It's just awful.
That's so silly. That might happen to people, and you adjust. I mean, why would you adjust now for something that hasn't happened?
Exactly. And I
right?
mean, that could even happen if you were working. That's just
Mhm. That's probably more likely to happen because he's probably less appreciative of you because you're off somewhere else most of the time, or you're tired to be intimate and things like that. So,
exactly the worst case scenario.
mm,
Your husband dies or he leaves you or whatever. It's simple. Get
mhm.
life insurance. It's
Yeah.
not really that
So yeah,
hard.
we have life insurance and we have family too who are going to take care of us if we need for a period of time. There's really nothing that I worry about. And if we need to sell the house that we live in and go move somewhere else, we'll do that. These things don't leave you like you're gonna die the very next
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just being savvy, being realistic as well. You're not just thinking about yourself, you're thinking about how your actions will affect the rest of the family, the budget.
Mhm.
Also, yeah, the other thing is about retirement was another one that I got. If you're not working and you're not putting away or investing for your retirement,
Mm.
what's your answer to that?
For me, we are investing in our retirement, so we do it separately with a private. I'm not sure what it's called, but yeah, we have an IRA, a Roth
Hmm.
IRA. We're investing our hard-earned money now for the future, and it includes me.
Yeah, exactly. It's not really that
It's not really rocket
difficult.
science.
Exactly. It's okay.
I think that's the thing when we expect the government to hand us things like a retirement package, you forget that that wasn't there to begin with. Like
Hmm.
y before the government was there to help people with their retirement, the people were doing themselves, right? You're responsible for the money that you earn, and you can invest it and you can save it and make sure that you're okay when you're
Yeah.
60.
But as tradwives, traditional housewives,
Mhm.
our husbands, it's not that it's their whole responsibility. Like, obviously, us wives have a lot of influence on how the money is spent, but a lot of the times, your husband's there. Use him as a resource to figure all this out as well.
Mhm.
And I think that's the whole, the modern woman. She's so self-reliant nowadays that she doesn't look to her husband for, oh, okay, what is your judgment on this?
Mm.
What's your opinion, and what's lean on your husband.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, we try and schedule finance meetings where we talk about just how things are going budgeting wise. And sometimes we talk about, are we on our goal for saving money for the future, for that next holiday, and then eventually, for retirement, are we doing investing in certain areas in order to grow our money, and where should we do our investments?
Mhm.
So we've recently been thinking about going into the realty, buying property and doing that. So yeah, we're thinking of ways to make money in the future and right now. And I think that's the conversation that women should have with their husbands. I mean, you guys are that's one of the things that I don't know if I've mentioned is we put all our money into the same pot. So I do make a little bit of money on the side, but I don't like withhold it and say, "Oh, this is because I earned this. This is mine." We are one
Yeah,
unit. This is even before we had children, so when I was working as well. We put it all into one account, and so we work together to make sure that we're on budget and that we are investing and growing our money.
I love that. I love that. And I guess the last question I wanted to sort of touch upon is that dual income, not having that dual income. And as women, as girls, young girls, we've been kind of programmed from a very young age to think
Mm,
about
mm,
career and making money and
mm,
making a name for yourself. So there's a lot of social conditioning that we kind of have to, not, I guess, fight against, but just be aware that that is there. And I
mhm,
think women are thriving in the job market nowadays. So relying on your man is it can be a bit of a hurdle for women to sort of get over, like relying on him to be the
mhm,
sole provider or breadwinner. It can be
mm.
quite a strange concept.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I mean, beyond the practicality of relying on someone else financially, I think we struggle in our identity and in our value. I think we are taught that our value is placed in our equitable
mhm.
potential, so the potential to earn money. And I think we're taught that our value is placed in our career so much. It's not even about how much money you're making. It's more like the career that you
Yeah.
have
What are you
identifies you.
contributing to the world?
And when you don't have that career to identify you, you're not working outside the home, you're staying home as a traditional housewife, you feel like, what is my role? What is the purpose? And what value do I have in
Mhm.
society? Um, and so it's a big mind change, a change in your mindset that I think
And there's almost
it's
like
it's
guilt
difficult
there.
for modern men to embrace that or to change their minds about that.
Yeah, yeah, and there's almost like a sense of guilt, for
Mm.
not bringing in a second income. You feel a bit guilty, like,
Yeah,
"Oh."
inadequacy. Yeah,
Sorry?
yeah, like to feel inadequate.
Yeah, inadequate and just guilty of not having that extra income, not bringing in that,
Yeah.
like, how do you have any tips on how to overcome that?
From a perspective of having children and being a mother, it is tenfold. Like seeing your children grow up, having that relationship with them, building this family unit has so much more return than you going out and making money. Before having children, I think I would have had more difficulty embracing a role that where I wasn't contributing financially. So what would you say about that?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly have that guilt sometimes, but at the same time, he's my husband. He's not just a boyfriend,
Mhm.
and that's what my husband is there to look after me, and I'm there to look after him. It's a completely different dynamic, and
Mhm.
I guess I'm a bit more traditional.
Yeah, I'm sure he approaches it like it's his honor as well to care for you. I think it's part of his masculinity to be able to care for you as well.
And I think it's very
Mm.
much because it's been programmed into me that, I
Mhm.
should be slaying dragons out there and holding the flag high for the sisterhood, representing. And it's like, I'm not doing that. It is a bit of a, like you said, it's a mind shift. And it takes a while as well. It doesn't happen overnight.
No, it doesn't.
Great, great. I think that's everything that I wanted to cover. Do you have any other things you want to throw in there?
No, I think that we've covered quite a lot here, and yeah, I would just like to encourage women out there who are struggling with, especially during this time when maybe you are living off of a single income, that you have a support system in it. It's not just you and your husband or your family. There are people who are happy and willing to help. Strangers are willing to help.
Yeah,
And so don't be afraid to reach out if you do need some help. I know that there are
definitely.
mortgage waiver, things that people are doing right now. Companies are allowing for people to like waive their mortgage for several months or so. I think 6 months to 6 months, I think.
Oh,
Have you heard that as
I've not read it. No.
but I think similar to what's happening right now with homeschooling, a lot of women are seeing the possibility of living off of a single income, and it is quite doable.
Hmm.
And I think as we realize that it's doable, there might be more advantages to it than disadvantages, especially if you have children. That family bond is so needed in our society. If we raise happy and healthy children, then we'll have a happy and healthy society. But if we don't, sometimes we don't spend enough time with our children and our family unit, our marriage. That that's what leads to people who then bring down society because they're lost or they need help or they're mentally
They're
unstable
just so
and
busy.
etc. Maybe they just hate the society that they grew up in. And so if we focus once again, focus back on our families, on our children, on our
Yeah.
husbands, that will improve society. And I think that's a great goal to look forward to.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode about living on one income as a traditional housewife. If you have any questions for Lillian or just want to find out more about her and what she does, you can find her on Twitter and Instagram at the Postmodern Mum, spelt MOM, like the American way. Or you can check out her and her husband's YouTube channel, The Postmodern Family. Thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to speaking with you in the next podcast. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a comment below. Let me know if you would love to listen to a podcast about femininity, homemaking, traditional housewives, and I'll see if I can jump on the wagon and start my own podcast. Thanks for watching. Bye! I think there's such a joy in keeping a good home, in watching your children grow up, in cooking and cleaning and supporting your husband.